last thing before we can start building aquariums in the fish basement annex, and that is the floor. And as you can see, the floor is done. We are ready to start building some DIY mega aquariums. And of course, we're going to discuss all of the ideas that you guys gave me and the ideas I had. And again, as always, someone said, hey dummy, instead of putting tape on the floor, why don't you make like a diagram that you can overlay on the video so we can better see what's going on? And well, you know what? I took their advice and I have a 2-scale diagram that shows you exactly what I was thinking and then exactly what I've come up with based on the feedback from everyone from the last video. Man, is it nice to have lifelong friends. Thank you, Matt, for sending me these. Like I said, a friend of mine I've known since I was a little kid, he made these signs for me to check out, and he wanted me to pick which ones, what sort of color scheme I want to go with, and he's going to make these beautiful wood and painted signs for the aquariums, and I'm leaning towards this one over here. What do you guys think? Oh yeah, and this is a giveaway for, this is the name of the 315-gallon step-by-step DIY tank, so gives you a little idea of what that's going to be. So the funny thing is, with the new DIY aquariums in the annex, it really affects these guys right away. We don't see the 600 reef slope really as much as we should, but the reality of it is even though the new tank being built isn't for these guys, it's going to impact these guys because it's going to be a new home for a set of fish that is going to start an avalanche of tank moves. So basically the first new build, which again we're going to start off with a serious bang, is going to affect 4 other aquariums, so including these guys. And if you haven't seen it in previous videos, the effect for these guys is they're going to be going from the 600 reef slope to what is currently Predator Bay. So it's going to become an 1,800-gallon, tropical lagoon tank for these guys. I don't know. We'll figure out a name for it, but they're getting a 3x larger home because, as you can see, there's a lot of height to this tank. They're all down here by the rocks, but it's a 4-foot tall tank. So yeah, they are definitely moving up, and they're going to be joining their friends who are in the connected 265-gallon aquarium. So it's going to be something else. That aquarium is going to be amazing. But like I said, the first build is going to start a chain reaction of improvements for all the fish behind it. Everyone's getting big upgrades. So for anyone who's ever heard of the Python water change system, and yes, I know that is everybody, you can close this ball valve right there using this little thing here that's not supposed to be in my hands like that. Yeah, it broke off. But the good thing for me is they do sell a replacement part. You don't have to get a whole nother one. So that is nice. But I did notice that of all the replacement parts for the Python, this is the #1 by far. Like it's 10x or 100x any of the other replacement parts. So I don't know, maybe a little redesign. Maybe they need to beef up that guy a little bit, because I know that I was always gentle with it, and the numbers don't lie. This breaks on a lot of people, not just me. So Python guys, make this a little stronger. Other than that, love the product. So obviously the major focus of this video is going to be the basement annex and the new builds and breaking ground and all that. But at the same time, the 600-gallon needs some maintenance. Look at all that growth on the glass, and all the valve has grown all the way back up again. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this guy up, clean all this glass up. We're going to trim off all of those plants. We're going to give it a big water change, and then we're going to see if we can see all the way to that big back wall back there. Should be fun. And we're going to give this a serious one, like a 60% or something. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, we'll work on this, while we're debuting 4 mega DIY aquarium builds. Okay, so as you can tell, there is a lot going on in this video. The floor is in behind me. The basement annex is ready to go for DIY builds. We're going to do some work on the 600-gallon Asian jungle, give it a haircut, give it a big water change, clean up that glass, make it look good. We'll take a look at that afterwards. I'm going to fix my Python hose. We got to figure out which one of these sign designs we want. Oh yeah, and we're going to debut the first mega DIY build in the annex. We're going to figure out what it's going to be in this video. We're going to get started. So thank you again for all the feedback from the last video, and let's jump right in. Okay, first off, before I even start talking about tanks, I want to thank you guys for all the feedback from the last video, the comments, the emails. Thank you, Morgan, for even setting diagrams as well. And I forgot who said it, but somebody said, hey, dummy, don't worry about the tape. Just do an overlay on your video. That's what we're doing here. So thank you for that individual as well. And let's just tackle, I think there were sort of three main things. There was one, which was an L tank or a U tank. And while that does sound cool, and actually is cool, it doesn't actually fit this space. So along the walls, so you see back over here we have the windows, and then moving forward, if you made a U or an L, you would essentially be getting rid of one of the middle tanks. There's not enough room for both, unless the middle tank was very small, which, and you know, my idea, very small, would be like 300-400 gallons. It wouldn't be what I'm looking to do. As you'll see on the screen here, these numbers are much larger than that. So it kind of, you know, like I said, it infringes on all the middle tanks. If you do an L, it infringes on one. If you do a U, it infringes on both of them. And I was thinking about it based on other feedback. The big 33-footer in the back, it's grown some from my original idea. So I figure, you know what, I think it's substantial enough. It doesn't need to wrap around and conflict or impede on the center tanks. The other piece of advice was, this was a unanimous consensus, and I agree 100%, is leave that middle open. It's gonna blow up the view if you do a big tank in the middle. You know, you're gonna have these aisles. It's not gonna feel right. You leave that middle open, and you've got an awesome view of the tank on the front brick wall. You got a awesome view of the 33-footer, and of course the tanks on either side. So it's an amazing spot. And when you flow into the room from the house or from outside in, you flow right into that spot. So it's just perfect. So yes, the middle of the room will stay open. A lot of people suggested ponds and things like that. I mean, I already do have a koi pond. And in regards to like a non-koi pond, like say a stingray pond or a shark pond or something like that, the reality of it is humidity inside a house, it would be too much. I would have to really cover it, which means it wouldn't really be viewable. And I don't want to have something where I have to uncover it to even look at it. I mean, that'd kind of be out of sight, out of mind. And I don't think that tank would get treated as good as it should. So, or look, you know, really appealing either. So, just going to leave that open, but I do have, you'll see in the overlays, is the middle tanks are going to creep over a little bit. Now, not the actual tank, but the filtration for the tank. And we're going to incorporate those poles, and we're going to do that in such a way that I think they'll actually end up being an asset rather than a deficit in the middle of the room. So we're going to turn those into something positive. And then the last thing was 4 tanks. Don't do 3 tanks, do 4 tanks. Just more options, you know. And I'm not trying to do tons of tanks because I have a lot of tanks and I love the hobby. I mean, obviously, I put a lot of time and effort into it, so I love it, but I don't want it to become work. I have the amount of tanks right now that I enjoy taking care of because of the way they're set up, because they're ecosystem tanks, because I lean on Mother Nature as much as I do to make these tanks work, and because I make them as big as I make them. They don't need the daily kind of maintenance that a lot of people who have a lot of tanks do need. So there's a balance there. So I want more tanks, obviously. We did the annex. I don't want too many tanks to where they're a burden on me. I want to always love and have the passion for the hobby that I have right now, and I don't want to self-destruct that by, you know, building out an annex with like 50 big tanks, you know, 50 tanks, something like that, you know. So, but that said, you know, 2 or 3 tanks, not enough, right? Right off the top of my head, I've got 4 really good ideas I want to do. And I think 4 big tanks fits this space the best. Again, without making any of them too small. So with all that said, let's get into the overlays and let me show you where we started and then where we ended up after your feedback. Okay, here's a little before video. Before I take my razor blade on a stick and get in there and get this all cleaned up and get the sump pump going and drain the water down to probably about there. A question I get asked a lot is how often do I change the water in these tanks? And I call them ecosystem tanks for a reason. They're meant to more or less kind of run themselves. But the reasons I would change water is something like this, where I do a big cleaning once or twice a year. When I added a whole bunch of wood and I added a lot of tannins, I would do some water changes there to reduce those tannins. And also in tanks that have not these kind of plants, but more delicate plants, I would probably change some water a little more often for trace elements. But for the most part, most of my big tanks, they only get probably between 1 to 3 water changes in a year. And I just wait for scenarios like those to occur, and that's usually when it happens. But so here's the bad, and let me get to work, and then we'll check it out, and we'll see the good. All right, phase one, taking the water down, getting the glass clean. Gave that jungle valve a haircut, so we are all looking pretty trimmed across everywhere. And I know one of the questions I get is about not having a ton of mechanical filtration. Well, with a nature aquarium, when you don't have a lot of mechanical, but you have really good biological, is it breaks all that waste down, and you end up with an inert byproduct called mulm. So these are also a good time for me to remove mulm, which mostly ends up down in the filter there. It's basically that brown dust that is down there. Again, it's inert and everything, but you know, it does build up over time. And I also get the question, like, what happens if the power goes out? Does it overflow the sump? Well, no, it doesn't. This tank was completely filled up, and you can see the final chamber there. It still has room to go. So the sump was able to absorb all of the water coming down. Not a problem. Okay, I'm going to get a few spots I missed on the glass, and we're going to get this water down, and then we'll clear out a little bit of mulm and fill it back up. Okay, we're going to start off with what I'm going to call the original layout, which was my idea for how to lay out the tanks, based on the fact that I knew I wanted to have a nature ecosystem community aquarium for smaller fish. I wanted a mega Amazon, Xingu River, you know, something inspired, a big Amazonian cichlid aquarium, and I mean really big, and then I wanted to have some tanks in the middle. So as you can see, the original build had, and I got some notes here so I don't mess this up and have to do overlays. So my original for the Amazon tank was 33 feet long, 4 feet front to back coming out from the wall, and 3.5 feet tall. And what I meant by that was that it would be shallower and then get deeper as the tank went from left to right. And that would have been 3,300 gallons. So it does meet the Aquarium A rule, which means the fish that are getting evicted from the 3,000 gallon would be going to a 3,300. So yes, it is bigger than where they currently live, barely, right? So anyway, that was my plan, original plan for the 33 footer. So for the ecosystem aquarium up against the wall, I had that as 12 feet long, 2 feet front to back from the wall, and 2 feet tall. And that would have been 360 gallons. And then for the middle tanks, I had them at 9 feet wide, 6 feet front to back, so the widest of all of them, and 3 or 4 feet tall, which would have been between 1,000 and 1,500 gallons. Okay, then I put out the video soliciting for your guys' help, and I got awesome help. As I'm not going to say I knew I would, but based on previous times I've asked, and even just unsolicited, I get a lot of good advice all the time anyways, but especially when I solicit it, I really get good advice from you guys. And so I really felt like it would either, your set of eyes looking at it would either crystallize my vision or show me my deficiencies and allow me to improve, and that is exactly what happened. So here is the revised layout based on your feedback. So again, leaving the middle open, slam dunk, right? No problem. We all agree on that 100%. The Amazon tank, the big Amazon tank in the back, you guys unanimously all said, you know what? That open space in the middle, that's your main point, that's the main viewpoint, that's the center of this whole annex. You gotta make that big Amazon tank really stand out. It's gotta be impressive. You can't cut corners, don't skimp on that. And then you know what? Right behind it, right across from each other, is the big community ecosystem tank. That's gotta be bigger. 360 gallons, that's not enough. And you know what? If you have to take a little off somewhere, take it off the middle tanks. So that's what we did. So the revised plan here, we have the Amazon aquarium in the back there, as you can see, 33 feet long, 5 feet front to back, and the entire tank is 4 feet deep, which gives you 4,500 gallons. Now that's a sizable upgrade for the big boys in the 3,000, a big 50% upgrade. That's nothing to sneeze at. They're getting a good new home. So Absolutely, that's going to make that tank pop, and I can still achieve the river, the more shallow to deeper end through aquascaping. So, but still have that water volume, and it gives me room to put some extra wetland environment inside the tank with water jets to keep all that water moving, because it's a very, very long tank, and I don't want to have like torrents of water where fish can't go. I want to have more distributed flow throughout the entire tank, and a good way to do that is to build little mini wetlands in there that's going to pull water through some specifically designed areas that's going to filtrate them, as well as create flow divided up amongst the aquarium. So we have some sort of general laminar flow throughout the whole aquarium, and not just some massive thing just trying to pound water 33 feet down the tank. So it's going to allow us to do better things. So yeah, still going to have the divider so I can separate the monsters when they're different stages, but we have a much better design for that tank with your guys' input. Now, with the community, the planted community aquarium, now it's really going to pop. 12 feet long, 3 feet front to back, and 2.2 feet tall. I have some glass that I already have from a tank I cut up that I want to use on that, so I'm limited on the height, but it's okay anyways, because I fully intend that to be the tank that I mess with all the time. I'm going to actually really aquascape that one. Again, none of that Dutch style, tons of CO2 and super high light stuff, but it is still going to be nature style, but it's going to be much more manicured, ability for me to get in there and really do an intricate aquascape for smaller fish, just a smaller fish on a grand scale with really intricate aquascaping. And so that's going to come out at 600 gallons. So that's a very substantial tank, especially for the size fish that are going to go in there. That thing's really gonna pop. And then last but not least, the middle tanks, 10 feet, so they got wider by 5 feet. They shrunk in a little bit for the bigger tanks on either side, and we'll go 4 feet tall on those, which will give 1,500 gallons each. Very sizable tank. A totally different shape than the other tanks, and for the stocking I have planned for it, picture something where this stock's going to benefit from sort of a central island kind of thing, where they're going all the way around it. Give you an idea, there's some aggressive fish because we're going to block some of those sight lines. We're going to create 4 different zones for these guys in there so that they can live peacefully together. And there's going to be some fish that are really going to appreciate that really wide footprint. Little bottom dweller, kind of round, big tail. Sometimes people call them stingrays. I can't wait to get fresh from stingrays, I'm sorry. But yeah, they're going to get one of those tanks. So yeah, the revised vision, with your guys' help, it's a lot better. I think it's a lot better. And again, thank you. Kind of a cool look at the 600 gallon. You got the that giant wood wall all the way in the back that hopefully we'll be able to see really well underwater here. And it's just kind of cool seeing the crew. They know something's up, obviously, with the big water change. They're all excited. They're all out and about. Like most of my tanks, these guys have no fear of me at all. I can do anything in here. They're just swimming up, bothering me the whole time. Not afraid of anything. Even the clown loaches, which is cool. So those guys are crazy. The trout daddy-o, those guys, I mean, like when I'm changing water and stuff, they're jumping, this far out of the water. They're major jumpers. They're definitely crazy. But let me go ahead and get the water started. I'm going to show you because I actually use 2 sources of water to fill this up faster because it takes so long, being the fact that, a 50% water change like that's 300 gallons, so it takes a minute. So let me get that started and then I'll show you. So I figure I might as well demonstrate how to fix a Python ball valve. What you want to do is you want to take the broken one and unscrew it. And then you want to screw in the new one. And yeah, there you go. You've fixed your broken Python ball valve. Good to go. And there you go. 2 sources of water and blasting out, but it is still going to take quite a while. But I'm going to sit here, maybe have a little drink and watch these guys enjoy the current because they always seem to go in and out of it. So it seems to be fun for them. And yeah, that's 50% water change on the 600-gallon Asian Jungle Aquarium. Oh, nothing like a big water change, even on an ecosystem aquarium. Love all that fresh, clean water in there. We got the haircut on the plants. You can see the wall pretty good. I think right now what we can't see all the way for clarity is just the air bubbles, but that's just going to take its time to work out. But yeah, 600 Asian Jungle is really come into its own. I think probably that you know, normally smaller tanks I feel really dial in about 6 months, and larger tanks like this one closer to about a year. And you know, we're way past that now, probably a year and a half, and yeah, looking great. So you know, we'll do an update on this tank pretty soon. You know, see what it looks like after the trimming and the water change, but without all the micro bubbles going on. But I'm gonna call it a success. It's looking good, and I like being able to see the fish in that back wall much better. Or actually, I could always see the fish, but seeing the fish in the back of the aquarium, going in and out of that big root wall back there. Okay, so we are not going to end this video without telling you what the first DIY mega build is going to be in the fish basement annex. Well, I'm standing inside of it, right where it's going to be right now. We're going to start off with a bang, and we are going to do the 33-foot, 4,500 gallon Xingu River inspired Amazon River habitat river aquarium with wetlands filter. Oh, and you name it, it's going to be insane. So we're, like I said, we're starting off with a bang. We're going for the big one first because the reality of it is it starts a chain reaction. Everybody from the 3,000 gallon is going to be moving into the 4,500. Everyone from Predator Bay, 1,800 gallons, is moving into the 3,000 gallon. Predator Bay 3000, that's got a ring to it. And then of course everyone from the Reef Slope and the 265 Marine Aquarium are moving into Predator Bay. I think that's going to be a lagoon aquarium. I have some really cool ideas for aquascaping with that, something you normally can't do, but when you have a 6-foot wide aquarium, it opens up some pretty cool stuff. So, and that's going to create a chain reaction of moving fish, everyone getting a bigger home, everyone getting a better home. And of course that's going to leave a 600 gallon that's empty. And it's going to leave a 265 that's empty, so we have to do something with that. And then of course, once we get through the mega build on the 4,500, we'll start on the 600 and the 1500. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. As you can see, a lot of moves. I'm calling in some favors with my nephews, with my friends to give me a little hand with moving all the stuff from the 3,000 gallon, because that is no joke. But first of all, we got to get started with the 4,500. So I hope you like DIY aquarium builds, because we're building, well, the biggest one I've ever built, starting now. Well, I think it's safe to say if you like DIY aquariums or mega DIY aquarium builds or ecosystem aquariums, or you like seeing lots of big fish moved around and tanks reset, if you like saltwater, if you like freshwater, if you like peacock bass, sharks, arowana, stingray, I have a lot for you in the coming months. There's going to be a ton going on, and you should probably check back because we got a lot of work to go, but it's going to be awesome. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.